There is something fishy going on today in our recipe because we're going to prepare one of the very special ultimate thing that is rarely made, which is called the bourride, sometimes referred to as the bourride sautoise. A lot of you have been requesting that recipe for some time, and because the real recipe needs an entire piece of monkfish that is hard to get, I thought I'm going to simplify this and use monkfish fillet instead. Nevertheless, the recipe is delicious. It is a braised fish in a courbouillon, served with its sauce, with a bit of cream, and binded with aioli. If you think it's the same as the bouillabaisse, it's got nothing to do with it, so get ready and let's make it. And now let's talk simplification. As I said, the bourride is something that is not common, and it usually goes into two steps. Step number one, in the proper recipe, you need to create a courbouillon that is white wine with aromatics, carrots, leeks. I've got some onion, some fennel seed, thyme, bay leaf, that sort of things, with the head of the fish. And that creates a bit of a fish stock, you see. Now, if you can't find a whole fish, and you want to make that bourride, you're left with this, which are the fillet. The fillet don't have as much taste as the whole fish, okay? And this is where the problem comes and how we can simplify that recipe. So, what can we do? The answer is right here. It is the time where you can actually use an off-the-shelf fish stock that won't have much taste into it and use this as a base to make our initial broth. And this is exactly what we're going to do here. Mix the fish stock with the aromatic, with a bit of wine, the thyme, the fennel seed, etc. And then use that to braise our fish. The flavor of the fish is going to diffuse further into this, so that at the end we get something that has enough quality and enough taste to warrant to really kind of match almost the real thing. So this is the little trick we are going to be playing. Ready? Let's go. And now let's turn the wheels of flavor. Our recipe is composed of two things. First, you've got that courbouillon, that broth that is flavored with the following. You'll find everything in the video description. We got some leeks. These are celery leaves. It's not parsley. We got carrots, onions. We got the yellow part of the leek. And this is silver beet coming from that leafy vegetables. This is just the stalk. We're going to have also some little fennel seeds. And here, the classic thyme and bay leaf you always find. Okay, I've showed you the fish stock already, and that's what we're going to be using. We're going to use an extra cream, some little cream to add some color. And for the binding that I did talk to you about, we're going to make an aioli with olive oil, eggs, and some garlic. But more on that later. Let's start with the broth. Ah, the good old south of France. I can hear the crickets from here in the background. So, because we're in the south, we are not using butter. We're going to use a medium heat and, of course, use a little bit, like it's a good tablespoon of olive oil, and add all of the aromatics in. Now, this, of course, is not to sear anything, but just to release the flavors. So we've got the carrots, and we've got the silver beet, and the leeks in here, and the onions, and we're going to have also some celery stalks. You know, always that cuisine, if you want a cuisine that's a bit lighter, yeah, I think it's always like south of France and Provence. It's a good place to start. Okay, so once you got everything, we'll mix everything well. As always, when you make this kind of low cooking, listen to this. The chanting, the ingredients telling you it is going well, we're not really being harassed. Yeah, we're cooking but easy going. So here we're going to add a few fennel seeds, like fennel seeds. Okay. And we're going to leave this for another minute, because what we're doing here is only to render this little thing tender and to start to release the flavor. We're not yet cooking the vegetables or anything like that. When we're ready, we're going to be adding the stock. This is half a liter. Be very careful with your cooking stock. Mine here is salty a little bit, which is not the best. So I'm not going to add any salt, but rather a grind of pepper. And with this, I'm going to add about 100 ml of wine. I did told you that usually it's only wine, but here we're simplifying things And if we only had wine and aromatics, I'm not too sure we would have something really great. So trust me, fish stock, a bit of wine, we're good. And now I'm going to leave this to simmer for 15 minutes. That's it. Now for the little hint, anytime you use a cold stock, always first bring it to the boil like this, then you reduce to a simmer and you start your timer at 15 minutes. Okay, that's the way to do it. And that we have some time, let's talk about the aioli. Aioli is usually just olive oil and pureed garlic. That's it. This is the classic method, but it is an absolute pain to make. And trust me, if you still want to have hair at the end of that video, but not pulling them out, trying to make the original version, you'd rather do that one. We're gonna make the simplified kind of garlic mayonnaise version using an egg yolk, a bit of mustard, the pure garlic, and olive oil. And let me tell you what, a lot of people now, even in Provence, do this because it is just simple and it works. So let's see how we do this. The concept of making an aioli is simple. We're going to take a large bowl. We're going to start by pressing our garlic in here. Okay, put that into the bowl. We are going to follow by adding the egg yolk in here. A bit of mustard. It's about a small teaspoon. A bit of salt and pepper. As you can see, very simple. And then mix the whole lot. Spend a good 30 seconds doing this. Look at this. We started to create the emulsion. When you got your base like this with everything, you can take your olive oil. And to start with, a little bit. Especially with that one, it's like a mayonnaise. Okay, and you make sure it binds together and it's going to start to change color. And all what you need to do is bit by bit, add your oil, and the mix is going to thicken and thicken and thicken. Now to show you, removing the tow, I'm almost done. I'm going to add a little bit. You can push up to 130 ml of oil. And within minutes, my kind of fake aioli is ready. And look, it is stiff, okay? It is not meant to be liquid like oil. That's the consistency we need. I'm going to put this in a bowl and reserve it. The time is now up. I've turned my heat off. And what we're going to do here is to discard these untidy bits here. You don't want to leave them too long, the belly, it could bring some bitterness into your dish. And the thing you can see is that it's not super appealing here, but don't worry because we're going to put some cream in here. That has got the flavor, but it looks a bit muddy as always. So what do? The cream is there usually to really whiten the sauce and make it give some taste, of course. It's going to help to thicken, but it kind of masks the whole funny look of that broth in here. And what I've done here has totally cooled down the whole mixture, meaning we're going to be able to put our fish in. Before we add the fish, I'm going to add a bit of that. That is the French noyer prat. And the reason we're going to add this because it is made with these bitter orange. And bitter oranges, the dry ones, are used a lot in the Provence cooking. Now don't overdo it. Usually 20 or 30 ml is enough because it's delicious, but it could bring a bitter taste to your dish. Give that thing a stir. And we got our base broth. And now, bring forth the fish. The fish, okay. I'm not going to actually add any salt and pepper for now. I want to leave the flavors. I've got some salt in there already, and I want to have the fish to express himself without adding too much stuff. I'm going to add a little bit of pepper. Let's put a little bit of color in there. Just before we put the paper lid on, we're going to turn the heat and bring this to a simmer, but look at that. This, my friend, is looking good. Paper lid. I'm going to have everything to touch there. I've got a hole in the middle and wait for this to simmer and leave it to cook gently for 20 minutes. Now, one thing you must absolutely not do is to leave your fish in the pan as soon as the time is up. You remove the paper lid on here, put it on the side, and as soon as your fish is just cooked, you're gonna scoop it off and put it in a plate and reserve it while we finish the sauce. So what I'm talking about is this. Look at this beautiful fish ready. I'm adding a little bit of the sauce over to keep it moist. That's what I mean. And then you take the same paper lid you had, place this over while you finish the sauce. I just mentioned sauce. This is not a soup, okay? All what we want is to reduce high sauce. I put my head back to medium high maybe. And we're gonna give it a light boil to reduce it a little bit so it thickens before we can add the aioli. All right, I think we're done. I'm gonna turn the heat off and I don't want to go any further. Now this is the amount of sauce I've got. You can go further, but we still need to bind this with the aioli. Adding the aioli in the sauce is the last and ultimate test. And that recreates the dish and bring character to that so typical type of fish dish. I'm not too sure how much I should put in there. I'm gonna go easy. Let's try to add a little bit and see what happens. So you want to keep it juicy. Huh? Ah man, I want to taste it all the time. I'm like, spoon, come back here. Maybe a tiny bit more, but that's it. I'm gonna push it. I'm putting it wide. That's it. Last one. The fish is going back in. And remember, no boiling. We can warm this up if we want, but without any boiling. Oh, I'm making a mess. All right, took this off the stove to show you a bit better. And this, my friends, is the bourride. You can decorate it with some color, with some of the celery leaves if you prefer like this. And a little trick that I thought was gonna be good is also to add some grated carrot, because carrots are part of the dish, and add a bit of freshness into it. Let's dig in. Now, the bourride sautoise is meant to be served with some boiled potatoes, absolutely. The real way as well is you need to have on a plate a toast like this. You don't have to, but what I like to do, a bit like the bouillabaisse, you're gonna spread a garlicky mayonnaise or aioli at the bottom, and then we're gonna add the fish. So for the fish, I'm not gonna go over the top, I'm just gonna add one little piece just for tasting. There's a little bit of potatoes in here, and then of course the sauce. The sauce, you have to be generous, of course. I think it's salty enough, but I'm gonna still add a little bit more and a bit of pepper on there. All right, just before I dig in, a last look at the composed dish. This is how it looks like. You get the crouton and stuff, everything. I've added some extra juice and looks delicious. Let's go. Now let's keep this casual. I just did the one camera setup here because I'm so hungry. Let's go. So first off, that sauce, I've added some more with the potatoes. It is tasty. Again, immediately the fish is going through, but what I want to do is to have a piece of that fish, the rouille, the crouton, and a sandwich like. The sauce with the aioli, a garlic explosion, crunchy, moist, and the fish there is just rightly cooked. What you can do to finish is be sneaky, and you can add more aioli, because that garlicky mayonnaise, you know what, with a piece of fish like this, a piece of potato if you want, it's like a sandwich. You know what, the potato, different. And you can dip this into the sauce like a soup, like a crouton. Wow, it is a special dish, this one. All what I can say here is that for the amount of work we've done, the combination of simple ingredients, this is an absolute bomb. But that completes the video for this week. I hope you like it. And next week we're gonna go back with some meaty endeavors and perhaps try to do another one-pot chicken. Why not? See you then.
My appetite, don't leave me here high and dry.